This is a story of a man who was stuck on Mars and how he managed to survive there. Hello, friends. Today I have brought you an explanation of the science fiction movie The Martian. This movie was released in 2015. At the beginning of the story, a group of scientists is shown on Mars. They were sent by NASA to collect samples. They were all collecting soil samples. At that time, they got information that a storm was about to hit there and they had to cancel their mission. They have to get into their spaceship as soon as possible. They started to head towards their spaceship. While they were moving towards their spaceship, one of the scientists, whose name was Mark Watney, was hit by some object and he got lost there. His crew members searched for him everywhere, but they couldn't find him. They thought that he was dead and flew away from that place. But when that storm passed, Mark Watney was shown alive. One of their equipment was in his belly. He was in pain and somehow he managed to reach his camp. He takes out that rod from his belly. He couldn't communicate with anyone because all of the communicating devices were destroyed by the storm. Mark was alone on that planet. All of his friends think that he is dead. Mark starts to record his daily activities. While Mark was sitting there alone and suddenly he gets up and said to himself that I cannot die here, I have to survive. And he takes out all the food and starts to calculate how many days he can survive with those foods. He had enough supply of water and oxygen to survive. Mark starts to think about how can he return to planet Earth. He had one way and that was NASA's another Mars mission, which was after 4 years. And that was 3,200 kilometers away from there, which means he has to survive there for 4 years waiting for another mission. But Mark doesn't have enough food to survive for 4 years. After some days while he was searching that place he found packets of potatoes and he thinks about a food solution. Mark was a botanist and he had knowledge about plants. He decides to farm those potatoes. He chose one side of his camp and made a suitable environment for potatoes to grow. He starts to collect the soils from the planet to farm those potatoes. He started to plant those potatoes. There was one problem that potatoes need lots of water to grow, but there is no water on Mars. But Mark was a scientist and he knows the formula to make water. He tries to make water by combining hydrogen and oxygen. He fails on his first try, there was a huge blast. But on his second try, he was successful to make water. Now there was a sufficient supply of all needs to grow potatoes, and after some days Mark saw a small plant of potato there. After seeing that he gets really happy. On Earth, people accepted that Mark was dead and they also had his funeral. But Mark was planting potatoes on Mars. The next day when one of the NASA's operators was watching surface pictures of Mars, she saw that the equipment of Mars has moved from one place to another. After that, she calls all of her seniors and showed them those pictures. When they saw those pictures, they came to know that Mark is still alive on Mars. They start to think about how to bring Mark back home. NASA's other mission was after 4 years, so they made a plan to send enough food supplies to survive till then on a small rocket. But to make that rocket will take 3 months and to reach that to Mars will take another 9 months. This was going to take almost a year and they thought that Mark doesn't have enough food to survive till 1 year. But on Mars, his plants were getting bigger. He takes out the potatoes and he plants small potatoes again. Many months have passed but he was contactless with NASA. Now he starts to move towards NASA's next mission location, which was 3,200 kilometers away from that place. It will take him almost 50 days to reach there. While he was moving towards that location, luckily he found a broken satellite that was sent many years ago to capture pictures of Mars. There was a signal issue on that satellite and he tries to fix that issue and send signals to NASA. He uses 3 boards. On the middle board he wrote, Are you getting me? And on the other two boards, he wrote yes and no. And that satellite clicks that image and sends it to NASA. Now the people from NASA control that satellite and change the direction of the camera towards yes. And now Mark knows that people from NASA are watching him and he gets very happy. After some day, he connects with NASA and he starts to communicate through email. NASA told Mark not to worry, we are planning to send food supplies to you. On the other side, the team which was on the Mars mission still doesn't know that Mark is still alive and they were heading towards planet Earth. After some months, NASA informed them that Mark is still alive. After hearing that, they were happy and sad too because they left Mark there alone and now they can't do anything to help him. After some months, Mars is shown where Mark is communicating with NASA through email and everything was going well. But one day there was a blast on the place where he planted potatoes and all the plants were destroyed. He cannot plant them again because all the equipment was also damaged due to that blast. Now he starts to calculate how many days can he survive with those foods, but those foods were insufficient for him to survive till the food supply from NASA reaches there. NASA suggested to Mark to consume less food and he starts to eat less food. Slowly Mark was getting weak and thin. On Earth, NASA has prepared all the essential needs and foods to send it on Mars. They didn't have enough time, so they decided to launch that rocket without testing it, and that rocket explodes after it takes off. After seeing that, everyone was sad because now they can't send food to Mars on time. After getting the news of the supply rocket, Mark was sad and disappointed. Mark emailed NASA. He said that tell my parents that I love my job, and if I die here, tell them that I didn't give up and I fought till my last breath. Now on Earth, China proposed to help NASA because their spaceship was in a ready state to go on space. NASA again plans to launch another rocket in under 28 days with the help of China. After some day, one of NASA's workers, Rich Burnell, purposed a way to save Mark in which he doesn't have to wait for 4 years on Mars. And he said that we can bring Mark home in 561 days. His idea was to use the spaceship in which other astronauts are returning from Mars's mission. He said that we can change the speed and location of that spaceship, and instead of landing on Earth, that spaceship can use the gravity of the Earth to change the direction and speed by revolving around the Earth. And while revolving around the Earth, they can pick the supplies sent by NASA and move towards Mars. But they cannot land on Mars because if they do so, they will not have enough fuel to return to Earth. So Mark has to use a flying object which is still on Mars to get out from Mars's orbit and reach space, and another team will catch Mark and bring him back to that spaceship. That idea had risk and can put the rest of the team members in danger, so NASA's managing director cancels that plan. He also doesn't tell that crew about that plan. But one of NASA's employees somehow managed to mail them that plan. After getting that plan, they all decide to follow that plan and save Mark. This plan was not approved by NASA, so they decide to execute that plan. When the speed and location of that spaceship changed, NASA came to know that they are following that plan. After that, NASA also agreed on that plan and they sent the supplies to that spaceship. And they collect that supply and they travel towards Mars. Now after 7 months, Mark is shown and he is very weak and thin because he was eating a limited amount of food. Mark starts to make that flying object ready. Now finally that day has come when Mark has to leave planet Mars and reach space. On the other side, his team members are also there to pick him up. At that time Mark gets emotional. On Earth, the whole world was watching the news about Mark. While Mark was moving up towards the space due to the high pressure, he gets unconscious. His team members were contacting him through signals. After some time Mark was conscious. There was another problem because the speed of that spaceship was very high, due to which it will be difficult to catch Mark. So they made a bomb and they blasted the front part of that spaceship, which helped to decrease the speed of that spaceship. At that time they saw Mark in space coming towards them, and the team commander Melissa Lewis heads towards Mark on a space chair. That chair was tied to the spaceship. After some distance, the length of that rope ends, but Mark was still far from her. After seeing that, Mark makes a hole in his spacesuit and he uses that hole to move towards the commander. Mark grabs the commander's hand, but his hand slipped and he caught that rope. And with the help of that rope, he comes towards the commander. And the rest of the team pulls both of them into the spaceship. After many months, he was with his group and he was very happy. After that, Mark is shown on Earth. Now he teaches new astronauts about how can we survive on other planets, and he also shares his experience with them. The movie ends here. Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel.